Is Islam a peaceful religion? If Islam is so peaceful, why are all Islamic countries ridden with chaos and violence and run by dictatorships? If Islam is so peaceful, why are people always trying to flee from Islamic countries? If Islam is so peaceful, why did their prophet Muhammad say the following? And I quote, "I have come to expel the Jews and Christians from the Arabian Peninsula and will not leave any but Muslims." End quote. Or this from Muhammad, and I quote, "I have been ordered to fight people until they testify that there is no God but Allah, and then and only then will their lives and property be saved from me." End quote. If Islam is so peaceful, why is it that when you really look into the history of Islam, you find evidence of Muhammad beheading multiple hundreds of men at the same time, and then distributing those men's wives and children into slavery? You find evidence of his torturing people for money. You find evidence of major atrocities within Muhammad's life, and this wasn't just defensive battles, but offensive battles as well. How can we dismiss any of these written facts? These facts are the foundations of Islam. When you look at the source of this information, the Quran, you see what Islam is all about. You just have to read it for yourself. Now, I would be amiss if I didn't mention that there are some peaceful passages in the Quran. When you look at chapter 2, verse 256, it says, "Let there be no compulsion in religion, for the truth stands out clearly from falsehood." In other words, religion shouldn't be forced. Verse 109 says, "Believe whatever you want, and let us believe what we want." But as you go deeper into the Quran, you begin to see contradicting teachings. For example, chapter 5, verse 33 says, "The only reward of those who made war upon Allah and his messenger and strive after corruption in the land will be that they will be killed or crucified." Here's what I found as I did some research on Islam. The first 13 years of Muhammad's life as a prophet was lived in peace. He had about 100 followers at the end of that 13 years. He wasn't fighting during that time. But then Muhammad was given rule over a city. This is where things radically changed. From that moment until his death, which was approximately 10 years, he personally participated in or commissioned 86 battles. Do the math. That's an average of 8 to 10 battles a year. These battles only culminated in intensity until the moment Muhammad died. As his power grew, his insatiable appetite for dominance grew. When you turn to chapter 9 of the Quran, you will see that it is the last major chapter to have been composed, and it is the most violent. This chapter starts off by saying that any obligations of peace to unbelievers are over, and the command is to kill any infidel where you find them. Verse 29 is very specific. The command is to fight the Jews and Christians until they pay the poll tax and they feel subdued. Why? Verse 33 tells us, Islam has been made to prevail over every religion. This is how Islam advances. This was the marching orders that Muhammad left his followers when he died, and these marching orders still stand today. Islam will prevail, and it will prevail by the threats of dominance and the sword, not peace. This is why when Muhammad died, Muslims conquered 1/3 of the known world within 150 years. The threat was convert or pay hefty taxes. And when a person said no to the threat became much more heightened. Convert or we will kill you. Here's the truth. Islam is not a religion of peace. Anyone who says Islam is a religion of peace hasn't really read the Quran in context, because if they did, they wouldn't say that. When you open the book and begin reading it, you will find out very quickly what kind of religion it is. Since I am speaking truth, here's some more truth for you. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the only way, the only truth, and the only life. Period and end of story. All other religions are counterfeit and sinking sand. Jesus Christ was crucified for the sins of his people, and 3 days later he rose from death. Jesus is alive, and Christianity has advanced by the message of the gospel alone, not force. It was Jesus who promised that the gospel would advance, and the gates of hell would not stop it. And the promise is coming to fruition. Islam, on the other hand, Islam's leader Muhammad died in the year 632 and is still dead. He was a prophet, but a false prophet, who started a cult that has only advanced by force, not peace. The true religion of peace is Christianity, not Islam. And don't take my word for it. I encourage you to look into it for yourself.